G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to War Thunder. Today we're going to be having a look at an old favourite that has been, I guess we can say copy-pasted. The T-34-85 is a tank that I've been meaning to cover on the channel for a very long time. It's not exactly a tank that sort of stands out nowadays, but back in the day, back in about 2015, 2016, the T-34-85 was easily the most formidable tank for its battle rating. It was just the culmination of very trolley armor and a high-powered, high-penetrating, high-damage gun with a decent reload and the map system to really give it a good advantage. Now, a couple of changes have come into effect. First of all, the T-34-85 since then has been raised in battle rating to 5.7, and it has also been hit with the nerf bat with the ballistics changes, which happened sometime, I think, last year. So, yeah, T-34-85 is kind of a shell of what it used to be. Or at least that's what I thought until this battle. Normally in the T-34-85, I don't really do terribly well at anything in particular, and that's because the tank is exceedingly average. And by exceedingly, I mean, it's fairly good for its job in a down tier. It certainly struggles in an up tier, but if you play it smart, you'll get some good kills and you'll get some good victories. Speaking of smart, the one thing that I am doing really wrong here is I am not using any sense of the tank's gun depression. You can see I've also butchered the shot on that M4A3, and he's also going to butcher the shot near me. I think I might give this video the title, Sometimes It Really Does Feel Like Russian Bias. Although that shot probably begs to differ. Right into the thickest part of the mantlet, finally being saved by the copy-paster IS-2. Now, this poor start is probably not going to get much better. You can see that now that we've taken the top of that C-cap, I'm going to quickly check for anyone leaving the spawn and anyone in the meme shed, let's call it, off by the corner of the map. I can see that this T-34 has been shot up by something, so I'm going to have a look. It's probably something in this little shed here, and lo and behold, we have a Chi-Nu, or a Chi-To. I believe it's the late variant. I'm not really sure, and I'm going to go for another shot because I butchered the earlier one. I am using the A shell, not the K shell. The K shell has a lot less explosive filler, and the A shell has a lot more, although at close range, you do want to be using, if you are going for penetration, of course, the K shell. The A shell for me is just the better all-rounder, although I do have some K shell in case I need it. The Tiger takes out the Chi-To there for me because I'm absolutely bloody useless. But you know what? I'm going to step it up into gear pretty soon. So, if you guys, I understand a lot of people don't really like Chinese tanks. But if you're a real China boy, I want you to comment down below ni hao. And if you're a fake China boy, I'm gonna butcher this, but Zhongguo Zishi or something like that, which basically translates to China number one. Much love to anyone who is from China and watching. I do appreciate, and anyone who actually cares for this video, I also appreciate that. Regardless, I hate to take out a fellow Australian there in the AC4, but he took out my Werebu buddy, and I'm going to get some revenge for that. Plus, I want kills because I'm a kill-hungry maniac. I'm going to take the C-cap, though. I'm not going to really push because I think I could see something in that little factory building there. But I'm not going to push. I'm going to wait for the cap. I'm going to angle my tank. Even though it is a little bit over-angled, I'm going to try and make the most of this capture zone. Quick look to the right to make sure no one's coming from the spawn to retake C. And then I'm going to go and flank. Now, one thing that I do sort of make sure I do is check behind me, but you can see this Tiger is just waltzing in and no one's coming to contest. M6A1 looking straight at me, probably trying to shoot me through the bushes, and I managed to get the shot first. The M6 is one of those tanks that just, I don't know, the armor is really weird on that thing. It has either really, really good armor in certain very specific spots, but generally over the rest of the tank, the armor is quite mediocre. Speaking of M6, I think I see something else in the connecting tunnels, but maybe not. I'm going to check, of course, from the spawn, because the spawn is really close and I can see something. It looks like a Hellcat, and I can also see something a little bit further back. I'm starting to think that it might be a tank. It could also be an AA, and it turns out that it's an M19 gun motor carriage. Easy kill. I'm starting to rack up the kills now, and I'm thinking whether or not I should push, because at the end of the day, we do need that BCAP, but we are, lacking map control. If we can get that map control back, especially getting this sort of flat ground that is really important. You see, the Tiger could probably do this and maybe I could rush in, but obviously, hindsight 2020, regardless, the M6A1, I think it's the same one, comes back and I shoot him up again. M4 Sherman, no, not an M4. It's a little Horo. That's even easier. So, we're starting to get these little easy pickings, and this is a bit of an eye-opener for what you might want to do in a battle. If they're taking lower tier stuff out or rushing, it shows that the enemy is getting a little bit desperate. They're either using vehicles that are less strong, or they are applying a bit of haste to try and get to the battlefield, try and retake caps, try and retake map control. This might be an indicator that the opponents don't have map control in certain areas that they are going to need it. Also, considering that we are taking the cap, I think the enemies would be a little bit panicked by that in itself. So, now that the B cap is pretty much secured, I want to go and make sure that we hold on to this cap. I wanted to try and secure the flanks, but at this point in time, one of our teammates is pointing out to the little silos, and there is something between the silos which I need to get to. These little water tanks, if you will. So as I pass the big tall silos, I get to the water tanks, and I'm seeing maybe there's something in these fences here that could be taking my teammates out. I just blind fire, see what I can do, but I can't really find anything until this Comet here, who is well and truly distracted by my friendly tank. So I get a really nice bait kill. So thank you very much to the teammate that baited there. Again, I'm going to try and put a blind shot, and I get a beautiful one into the M6A1. My God, I've been shooting up those things all day, every day, without any problems. Now, speaking of problems, the B cap is being retaken, and whilst there is a friendly Brumbear in the cap trying to contest, I saw you. Don't you run away from me, little boy. I'm coming for you. Little AAs, man. These things can be annoying, and I have to be careful that they don't get onto my side, but as a T-34, I can just angle and let the power of Russian bias win through. The Brumbear potentially could have just gone straight through, but speaking of going straight through, I run straight past this Sherman, and I take another shot, and I think I might have ghost shelled that one, Chief. So, time to beat his reload, because he shot after me, I get the first shot, and goodbye Mr. Sherman VC. Another very easy kill. And now you can see that I'm starting to take map control. I'm starting to control the areas where the enemy is coming from. And when I do this, I can really get a hold on capture circles, take these capture circles and hold it quite effectively. The T-34 is well suited for combat in an urban environment like this, where you may need to peek, you may need guns that one shot very, very quickly, and you also need that sort of versatility. You see, the T-34 is really decent overall in multiple terrain, where something like, I guess, a Tiger will sink a little bit, but be nice and fast on roads. The T-34 is a bit of a hybrid. It's got a little bit of everything. And whilst in many cases, it can leave you wishing that you had, better accuracy at range or better something or other, it still pretty much does the job. One of the beauties of the T-34 is that in its mediocrity, it is, in some way, good at everything. And so it will be better at some tanks at certain things, and will be better against other tanks at other things. For example, I would definitely rate the T-34-85 higher at brawling than, for example, a Tiger 1. But long-range sniping, it falls short, and so with every single tank, you need to treat every engagement differently. This thing sees Jagdtigers. This thing sees King Tigers. This thing will see the T-34, as in the big boy T-34 or T-34 Heavy. But it will also see things like Shermans. It'll also see the Jumbo. And these are things that you have to be careful about. You may lose a brawl to a jumbo, or you might just absolutely buttfuck it like this. What a bloody shot. I'm super impressed by it. You see, each engagement in the T-34 you have to treat differently, because you are good against some tanks at some things, and you are bad at that exact same thing against other tanks. So you have to really weigh up your engagements, and you have to pick every engagement carefully. You can't just Zerg rush in. Of course, if you do have a numbers advantage, for example, if you're, I don't know, 3 in a wolf pack, you can pretty much do whatever you want as long as you close the distance, and as long as you get a flank. But in a case where you're 1v1 versus a King Tiger, you need to be sneaky. You need to ambush and take the first shot. If you're against a Sherman, you need to be prepared to engage a Sherman before it gets its stabilizer online. There are certain things that you need to make sure that you do, and ambushing is one of the most viable tactics that you can employ in the T-34. You can see that most of the tanks that shot at me were in engagements that I could somewhat either control or was completely taken off guard for. In other engagements where I managed to take the kill quite handedly, the opponent wasn't even looking. So you have to weigh up what you do in each engagement. The T-34 used to be some sort of, if you will, no skill, all killing, all singing, all dancing, absolute meme machine that slaughtered everything. And so, as time goes by and it gets hit with a nerf pad a few times, you start to have to play the thing a bit more smart. Although, from time to time, in a match like this, you get 13 or 12 or a high number of kills, like this one. And it makes you remember the days where the T-34-85 was king, and where it just absolutely ruffle-stomped everything. Of course, to get a high kill game like this, a good team is almost essential. You need a team that can take the shots for you. The Tigers, in my case, were perfect examples. They did great work at bouncing shots, especially from jumbos, especially from some of the Japanese tanks, which, whilst they have good penetration, tend to kind of be lackluster everywhere else, except, I don't know how, but that Chi-To. Speaking of Japanese tanks, there's a Japanese boy, but I'm going to shoot another M6. Oh my god. M6s everywhere, man. Well, I managed to crit that Chi-To, and I don't know what it is about Chi-Tos, but I probably won't end up getting this guy until the end of the game. So, a very, very easy 13 kills. That's probably what it was. I must have had APDS loaded for that last shot. Well, regardless, it doesn't really matter, because T-34-85... Is it Mao or is it Stalin that guides this one? Regardless, I think the T-34-85 is a really, really fun tank. You should definitely get it by any means, and if you want to grind out the Chinese tech tree, this is a good option. But until then, take care, and I'll catch you next time.